Let's talk about what I think is one of the most unappreciated pieces of equipment you can buy. Specifically, the four-wheel flatbed cart. Now, there are other carts out there. So before owning these, I'll get to these in a second. Before owning these, I had kind of what everybody might have, the standard two-wheel dolly. It's big, it takes up a lot of space. This is the apartment mover kind, which has the back for easily going upstairs. Now, I still use these carts. They do come in handy. I keep one in my live sound trailer. They're perfect for moving around big, heavy stacks of speakers. Originally, for my smaller shows, I had one of these. You can find these at Walmart. Small, compact, designed just like the big two-wheel cart. And essentially the same thing. They're okay for lugging around stacks of speakers, stacks of totes. And both of these carts will make lifting heavy things easier on your back. But what I really want to talk about today is the Rock and Roller series of cart, and also the Jamstands JS-KC90. So the reason I say I think these are quite possibly some of the most unappreciated things people can buy is I think for most people, they're an afterthought. Now, I probably didn't buy a Rock and Roller R2 until around about 4 years ago, maybe. I bought my first one. And mostly because it doesn't help you during your show. It's not a piece of equipment you use. So when you're building out your company, there's so many other things you can spend your money on. Maybe you need a better wired mic. Maybe you need to put money towards a nice wireless. Maybe you need a subwoofer to add to your system. $100, $150, that can get you a new light. It can get you a lot of things that will help you in your craft. But once you own one of these, and I bought the Rock and Roller R2 first. I wanted something compact, something I could just throw in the back of the vehicle and load my show in. Now I'm going to try to get this back here. So, pretty simple four-wheel design. You can flip these up. Lots of different configurations. Slide it back, flip this up. Now, the R2 is quite possibly my favorite overall cart because of its compact size, and on top of that, you might be looking at it saying, it's not very big, you're not gonna be able to stack anything on it, but it's perfectly sized to take a 6-foot table and go like that. And with that base, I can stack our entire DJ 100 show on here. Speakers, tote, gig bar across the top. It all fits perfectly on there. And when you go from, 4 or 5 trips in from your vehicle to 1 trip in, 1 trip out, that's when you really start to see the benefit of having one of these. When you think to yourself, load in takes 15, maybe 20 minutes, depending upon, say you're doing a school dance, you got to go down some hallways to get to the gym. If you have to make 3, 4, 5 trips in, that's a lot of time consumption on load in and load out. You're talking maybe 15 minutes, maybe 20. And if you're knocking off 15 minutes at the beginning, 15 minutes on the end, that's half an hour of load in, load out time eliminated. And if your time is worth money, how much time is 30 minutes a gig worth to you? Eventually you'll find that it's definitely worth the price of one of these carts. Now, just to kind of go over each cart a little bit, I'll kind of go over one by one here. The R2, hopefully I'm still in the camera here with it. So the R2 is pretty small. It does have pretty small wheels overall. If you have a really heavy load on here, you're probably gonna have trouble going through some grass. So if you're doing an outdoor gig, you probably wanna load this pretty light and just know it's going to be a little tougher. That's a big reason why I also own the R12, which is kind of my go-to cart with the big wheels. This one's my favorite, but I like that one because I started carrying a subwoofer with me to every gig. So the R2 is well built. I haven't had anything go wrong with any of them. When you get it, the wheels are not on. Not that that's a big deal, but I wanted to bring that up because when you get the ultimate support Jamstands JS-KC90, I hate that model number, by the way. I feel like they could come up with a nicer one. This one comes with the wheels already on it. So that's the only reason I say that. When you get the rock and roller, it comes with, I think it even comes with the tools to put the wheels on. But this comes in the box just like this. You pull it out, it's ready to go. I actually probably would not have bought one of these with my own money. But when I bought my DZR 315s, I actually bought a bundle that came with this cart for free and 2 Mogami 20-foot XLR cords. So, you know, if you can get a bundle for the same price and you get a free cart and free XLR cords, why not, right? So when I started looking this over originally, my original plan was to do a versus video. The R2 versus the KC90. But when I got to looking at the specs, they actually make a KC80, which is probably more in line with the R2. So I didn't want to do a versus. I think this is more in line with like the Rock and Roller R6, and I don't own the R6, so I don't really have a good video to do a comparison on. But I will say some downsides. So, and I experienced this with my R12 as well, so I'll go over that in just a second. Construction-wise, they're pretty much identical. I mean, one would almost question whether or not these are built in the exact same factory, or if Rock and Roller contract builds for them, but I would, you know, they're very similar carts. But one of the downsides of this one versus the R2 is this bar in the middle here. And I don't know if you'll be able to see it. I'll undo this here. So number one, if you're like this, it's fine. But you'll also notice I can't fold it down. I actually have to lift this up to slide it, and then I don't get a completely flat surface because of that center bar. For this to go all the way down, it's got to be collapsed. And with my R2, I have had a few shows where I've carried some really long cases, so I've just stretched this out. I've left the back folded down and just laid everything on and let it stick out the rear end of the cart. With this one, you can do it, but being as it's not a completely flat surface, you know, you're not going to be able to lay your table down on it nicely. Anything you put on here, if you're on bumpy terrain, any sort of unevenness is just going to vibrate it off to the side. So that is one downside about this. Now, if you go down to the KC80, it does not have this middle bar. It is just like the R2. But like I said, it's not a... I'm not going to say buy the Rock and Roller over this or buy this over that, because essentially at the end of the day, I mean, they look freaking identical. Like I said, I would not be surprised if they're made in the same factory. I don't see a made on sticker, and I guess I didn't look in the box, but pretty close. Now, if we bump up to the big boy here, now I don't think I got the biggest one. I think they do make a bigger one, but I wanted a cart that could handle grass easily. And obviously, like you see, this thing's got way bigger wheels on it. Still though, if you stack this really full, I mean, I've stacked it really full. 2 subs, 2 tops. My Craftsman tote, I've had a generator stacked on top. And let's just say stacking a generator on top probably isn't the best idea because I ran into a pothole. It tipped, my entire stack fell, my generator went rolling. I was pretty unimpressed with myself, and it was the first time I had my generator out, so kind of a bummer. One thing I will note is both of the rock and rollers have like grip tape on the top. Oh, as does that one. All right, so they both have grip tape. But this is another one where you'll see like they come apart, but because of that middle bar, you lay that down, you don't get a nice flat surface. So very, very similar. The one thing that I will say probably gives the rock and roller the edge, like if you're just looking for a cart, if a cart is all you need, I would say buy the best deal. If you find a good deal on the Jamstands cart, grab that. If you find a good deal on the rock and roller, get that. But one thing I will say about rock and roller is they do make a lot of accessories. So like some of these where these are the same height, you can get a table that goes across. You can get straps, hooks, a floor bed. I use a table for the floor bed. I don't really want to be carrying an extra piece that's just used to lay on here. I like using a table instead. But I don't really use this in any other configuration except four-wheeled. You know, there's a lot of hype online of, you know, this has 8 different configurations. You can use it as a two-wheel dolly. You can use it folded down like that, which I don't really recommend. You can use it folded up. But at the end of the day, I just use it as a four-wheel cart. This one is definitely bigger in the vehicle. It does not fit as nice as an R2. If you have need for a big cart, I'd say definitely get the R12. If you're just, you know, an average DJ that has an average setup, an R2 is definitely the way to go. Small, compact, convenient. And then the new guy to the inventory, the JS-KC90. Seemingly the exact same construction as the other two. I do like to use one of these at home. I live on the 3rd floor, so I take the elevator up, and I've got some nice totes that I bring up groceries in. So I actually think the Ultimate Support one will wind up coming home with me. And I think I'll use that as my home cart. And the rock and rollers as my work carts. But, you know, not just beyond saving your back with a cart, but also saving time. Time is kind of the key, and that's why I feel like this is one of the most underappreciated pieces of equipment. It will save you more time than you think it will. So I highly recommend getting a cart. Not just a two-wheel dolly like most people have, but get a four-wheeled one. It might not seem that important if you don't have one, but once you do have one, you definitely will see how important it is. If you have any questions about these carts, feel free to throw them down in the comments section. Until next time, have a good day.